Order, call this meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please. There it is.
Jerry Berenger. Here. Paul Cuny.
Here.
Joe Latte.
Present.
Robert Laraway.
Here.
Fred Beebe.
Here.
Carol Shannon here. Dave Torres.
Here. All seven. Okay, the agenda's before you. There's no questions or anything else. We'll pass it by unanimous consent. Okay. On to the consent agenda. Anything to be taken out of that to be discussed? Not sure. Motion to accept. Motion made by Laraway to accept the consent agenda. Is there a second? Seconded by Cuny. Any discussion? All in favor, go ahead.
Two typos, anything? I saw one spot, my last name was misspelled.
No, I don't think so.
It's on, for public hearings, the yay and the nay.
Okay.
Okay,
That's it.
I apologize.
any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Couple of things. I guess we'll take care of the committee appointments in a moment. But one of the things I'd like to start us thinking about is we have a, since this tax issue and since the public safety issue and Isabella County and stuff, and all these things that are going on, I think it's time that we start wondering whether or not, or at least exploring the possibility of becoming, instead of a village, becoming a city. That requires a special committee, it requires a lot of things, but it gives us more autonomy. It gives us, and the money stays with us. And it gives us a little bit, it's just something to explore. I'm not advocating we have to do it, but it seems like a logical evolution of things to happen because there's 8 new houses going in. And it's starting to be more and more. And we're starting to get to be a larger and larger community. And taking a look at the public safety, for example, we don't even know if the county's gonna be able to pass that and have that. So it's just a way to, something to think about. That I want you thinking about it. I'm not saying we have to do it or anything like that, but it's something to consider.
What's the process and timeline?
It probably takes about a year, would you say, Tim? Because 2 years?
Yeah, so once you get into the process, you would have to have
Oh,
a
yeah.
charter election,
You
and
have
let
to
the
have-
charter committee to draft a city charter. Unless we were to go, yeah, even a that city. And then they would have to present that charter at, a general or a special election for the community to vote yay or nay on. They vote yay, you become a city. If they say nay, you stay a village.
So it's a lot of effort. And the community does decide. It's not for us to decide, they community decide. But there's all kinds of different city charters also. Could be a mayor and a council. Or it could be a manager, like we have now, a manager and a council, so it could be a lot of different things. And there's some disadvantages and there's some advantages. And I think it's about time we looked at maybe the advantages may be worth considering. That, and then another thing that I noticed is that our manager shouldn't be on a lawnmower mowing around here. Now, I know that we're going to hire that done through probably a lawn service or something like that, which is fine.
So we talked about part-time employees doing that last.
Right, but see, that's one of the, it kind of dovetails with the city thing, because now we're starting to get things that have to be, getting more employees, possible employees and things. The other thing I would like to say after watching Jessica, and I commend her for all her efforts on this tax thing, is we need somebody, at least part-time, to be able to shadow her. So that we're not complete, if she's gone and Tim's gone for whatever reason, we shut down. it'd be hard to run this, because I don't know the ins and outs of what she does, and I certainly would be lost with the tax deal. So I was just thinking that it seems like we're filling up our cup. We need a bigger cup. So that's just something I don't want everybody to start thinking about a little bit. We're not gonna do anything this week or anything like that or this year, but something to think about. And with that, everyone that has said that it's on the plan, that's on this committees have said they'd reserve.
Correct.
So unless anyone has any objections, that's on page 38 of your bulletin. Of your agenda.
I did have one application come in Monday after the packets went out. I left that, I think, on your dais up there, but
I didn't see it.
Oh, well, you know, there's,
There was a lot of papers.
there were a lot of papers up here.
No, that's still.
I hope so.
Yeah.
There's no way they had to look for it. Okay.
Right there.
Okay,
he said, council, planning commissioner, ZBA, but all your incumbents said they would re-up.
okay. This guy is David Wendland. Spell it, is Wendland. He's lived here 4 years. Okay. As long as we have these that have, these incumbents that said they'd serve for another term, I would, make the appointment that, is before us, between the planning commission, that's Mike Simon Frazad, and then zoning ZBA, Angela and Aaron Dorr on the ethics. Any problems with that? Anybody? Okay. We'll make it so. Thank you, Tim. And we'll keep this fella in mind right here. Because there'll be other committees. We're up to you, Mr. Manager.
No, you're up to me. It has been a banger of a week for permits, let me tell you. 3 homes.
Three more? That's 11?
Well, I think 2 of them were on your sheet as pending, but they got all their stuff in, so. I approved one across for right next to the condos. Mike and Ann Slaves are building there. They bought a sliver of that from Maury. Approved one this morning at the end of Channel Drive. And then, approved one at 1020 Crown Point. And that one, that gentleman had spoken to us pre-COVID, like 6 years ago, like came in, look into building sometime, like great. Then Friday, all of a sudden I go to the mailbox and here's this packet with all of his plans and a check and an application. It's like, all right, I guess we're building another house, you know?
9 houses.
You know, and a deck. You know, we're up to 39 permits on the year total, so. It's definitely picked up, and as you can see in my report, it's bigger stuff too, you know. We're not seeing a lot of the small, like garage stuff. We're seeing either homes or, you know, sheds, you know, there's not a whole lot of in between. The planning commission did approve detached garage as a special land use at their meeting last week. And that was because they had to hop the street. It was the exact scenario that was talked about when we started to do this, where the property owner is on a waterfront lot on Essex and he's built up with neighbors on each side. He's got nowhere to go but a vacant lot across the street. So he bought that and is gonna build just a single story, 960 square foot garage, nothing big or monstrous or anything like that, just needed a garage for stuff. But yeah, lots of activity going on right now in terms of the permit process. You know, I know there's still probably another 3 of them out there that are somewhere in that planning process to build yet this year, so.
So
Yeah.
it could be up to 14.
Yeah, could be another.
That's big as we used to have
Yeah.
about 20 in the early 2000s, late 90s.
I think we did 34, 35 one
Yeah.
year, you know, but
But that's getting up to 14 or 15, yeah. Okay,
I read a statistic that the city of San Francisco has approved a total of 16 new housing units so far in 2024, so we're not too far behind.
They have water also.
They have water.
a lot of things.
Consumers will be installing the natural gas within the next 9 days at this point in time. So do you see the white flags, the line's been marked for where they're gonna do it. All the other Mystic people have been out. After a little back and forth, we have the post that they required in for the meter. They sent us a schematic of what to do for residential mobile homes for hanging a meter, and when Custom was here, they cemented in a nice 4x4 post, sent a phone like, oh no, we sent you the schematics, like, we're commercial and, on slab, like, you didn't send us anything about that, you sent us a mobile home spec. Well, that's what we want you to do, so. There is a lovely Schedule 42-inch galvanized pipe that is about 8 feet into the ground behind here right now. The tornado can wipe this building off the face of this earth, and that pole will still be there. But other than that, the AC is up and running. It's a little bit louder than the Geo, but not bad. I think maybe later in the year might look at maybe doing like a privacy panel or something over there just to kind of block the view from the golf course of it. But other than that, things are going well. We are over $5,000 for the fireworks show. I did unfortunately have to tell a gentleman from the 661 area code today that he had called Michigan and not California, because tell me that fireworks show I want to come up there for. I'm like, I know that area code well enough from getting calls from it. That's Bakersfield.
I love it.
It's like, yeah, we're not coming to Michigan. We submitted our category B application, right before the deadline last Wednesday. I wish Jessica was here, but Jessica has done an outstanding job on this disaster that is the county tax bill situation. The supposed training on the 6th, where everyone was gonna leave with their tax bills printed, nobody left with their tax bills printed. We had been very proactive in discussing this and trying to get things in order with BSNA beforehand, and they weren't even aware that there would be cloud users there, and said, don't know why you're coming, this training's not gonna benefit you guys at all. Yep. And it even gets better up until, they hadn't even developed a method yet to import data from the .NET to the cloud version to do tax bills. So we knew we were gonna have to eventually, we just hadn't gotten around to it,
Perhaps this year.
this year, so. There's a lot that I could say about that, and I've told Jessica I'd like to arrange for her to have coffee with Chris Embry, our county commissioner, and have her share the full gamut of what has happened, but I believe we're right at the point now where we can print. We are gonna use Doug Neff at Pleasant Graphics. I think we've got a couple other townships that wanna go in and do that as well with him, that have our similar philosophy on staying local. But yeah, it was an absolute disaster of an experience to go through. There's no other polite way to say it. The county had supposedly been emailing everybody. Well, they left one of the townships off. There was one township that had no idea any of this was happening up until about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
How can that happen? I just don't.
I got a lot of ways I could say that could happen, but none of them are polite to share.
Brent's been to their meetings. He knows how.
No, I just watched it online.
It's
I'd like to go sometime, but
there are not words that can properly convey what an absolute just disaster this was. I mean, no planning on their part. Their contracted guy from equalization, even said it's a training to the people that, well, actually, I've never looked at the tax module, so I really don't know, He just thought you could just, hit a button and import all this tab and this is gonna be hunky dory and everyone's gonna.
It's a steep learning curve too.
So,
will the bills go out on time?
yeah, we're ready for it right now, so we're gonna send.
Because of Jessica.
Jessica, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
but she, that training, excuse me, was like Thursday the sixth. She had people here, the following Monday night. Her and Denise Paul, our assessor, worked with probably a half dozen township treasurers here in this room. They're here till like 10 o'clock. She had another group come in to work with her, Monday of this week to get things squared away and done, so. Yeah, absolutely, hats off to her, you know, there are a lot of townships that would not have been able to get this out the door without her and Denise's help, quite frankly. Allergies.
Part of my concern with that too is that the county has been using for years someone that isn't even local. I mean, it seems as if they should purchase within their own county.
Yep.
Yeah, I would certainly share that opinion. I spoke with staff attorney at Bloom Sluggett. He is working on the animal control research that we sent him, so he's hoping to have something back later this week. Circling back to the summer tax bills for 1 second. We've reached out to Treasury. One of our townships posed a question to the Michigan Townships Association about refunds. And the MTA gave them very poor and inaccurate advice, in my opinion. Essentially, the question came up is, you know, does anyone have a policy for issuing refunds on a duplicate payment, essentially? And MTA told them, you can't give them a refund, they have to. It's the fire chief, can I take this? Yeah, chief. This is the council meeting. Oh. I thought I was supposed to say something.
Take about a 2-minute recess here.
Oh, I appreciate that, thank you so much. Sounds good, I'll talk to you soon, okay? It was not official business, it was personal call from him, but he's fire chief, don't know that.
That's right.
Don't know that. There's a letter number from 1995 that Treasury issued, that said that in the event of a duplicate payment, you pay the second person back. That's no longer listed on their website in terms of their numbered letters. So we emailed them to say, you know, hey, we've got a copy of this letter from 95. It's been our governing kind of practice on this, and it's not there anymore. Has there been any change in this? But MTA is telling them if you issue a refund, your bond could be revoked and they have to request a refund from the state tax tribunal. Like the tribunal would never even be involved in this. And if you look at their opinion, they're referencing things out of the General Property Tax Act that talk about what to do when there's contested values. So like if you've got an appeal, you know, from board
That's all it-
review,
yeah,
you go to
That's what it is.
you go to the tribunal after that, like how to handle those scenarios.
And then each entity that pays you.
Or if there's like mutual errors, you know, on the assessing end.
Yeah.
They don't ever reference the treasurer end on the collection. And, you know, I did briefly talk with our legal counsel, like, I read this, I think it's wrong. They said, you are correct, we think it's wrong as well. So, we'll wait to hear from Treasury, but nothing I could found.
Somebody fell asleep at that class.
I'm bringing it up because, I believe that the township in question here, has spread this information to the other townships around and is trying to go to like council of governments to let them know that this is, you know, what MTA's advice is. And, you know, when we get into that scenario and we issue a refund differently, you know, I want to be able to explain to them why. And I also just personally called colleagues in Detroit, Grand Rapids, Kentwood, Muskegon, Port Huron, several other municipalities. And they're like, no, we all just issue refunds. Oh, that's insane. Why would you even think about going to the tribunal to get a refund? It's a duplicate payment.
Yeah.
And the way that happens is, you know, you get your tax bill mailed to you. You go, I better go pay my $45 village tax bill. Come in, pay it. Then at the end of August, we get a pack this thick from CoreLogic or PNC or whatever, and it's got 80 parcels on it. And in that parcel count is your property tax that you already paid for because you forgot it was escrowed. So we can't not take that payment and impact the other 79 parcels on there. We've got to cash the check and then issue the refund back to the, apparently the second payer. We've always done the homeowner, but yeah. Sent you some info on the latest on the short-term rental legislation, where that's at. There's a discussion about potentially looking at a tiered approach to regulating it, in terms of, you know, like a hosted rental and a, you know, unhosted versus a dedicated. I've consistently communicated that we should maintain the right to ban dedicated rentals if we so wish. The other two, I think we could probably work with. You know, if we've got to give a little to get a little, that's the way I would go with it, but. And then we're north of $5,000 on fireworks. I will be out of the office the rest of the week at the MML summer retreat for board members. That is my report.
Okay, thank you. Tim, any questions for Tim? All right, Sherman Township, here. LIPOA, assume no report.
Nope, nothing.
Send anything over. All righty, public hearing number 1. Resolution 2024-08. Capital improvement plan and millage rate to be levied.
You either have in your packet or have it in front of you tonight, a printout of the budget.
You got it?
Yeah. So this was introduced at last month's meeting. The finance committee held a meeting on 4th of June. That sounds right, maybe?
Yeah, 4th or 5th,
Something like that, yeah. For the 2024 year, our taxable value increased by 9.22%. And now stands at $109,672,466. What this means is for every 1 mil that we levy, for whatever purpose we levy it for, it'll generate $109,672.47. Our operating millage is rolled back due to Headley to 0.8058. And because the lake restoration millage was passed in the calendar year of 23, it gets rolled back for 24. 299, I think actually 6, not 4, but. So what does that mean? If we look at all of the units that collect taxes out of our fair little hamlet we call home, collectively, we're paying $3.3 million in property taxes from our community. Isabella County it's the bulk of it at $725,000. State of Michigan gets $658,000 for the education tax. The intermediate school district, voc, special ed, all those get another $550K. The school district, their debt millages collect another $425,000. Our lake restoration millage this year will bring in $324,000. The fire millage assessment, 1 mil levied across, is $109,000. County medical facility is $63,000. That should be at 1 mil. I don't know why as well. Sherman Township's operating, Broomfield Township operating, Commission on Aging, IRI. Then you get down to our $88,000 in property taxes from the village. We also did obviously not levy the road patrol millage for this upcoming year. The village has $270,000 worth of debt. That is from a recast we did on a debt issue in 2021. Which was an original consolidation of 3 different debt issues. So we financed the construction of this building, the purchase of the DPW property and the construction of the salt barn on 3 different debt issues. We consolidated those into one, and then we recast that debt and paid some of it down and got a lower interest rate. All told, those maneuvers saved the taxpayers of the community over $500,000 in interest that we would not have to pay by doing it this way. So we have a pretty level debt payment every year of $22,500 off the principal. Interest payment around $5 to $6 grand right now. But we'll be debt free in 2036. So 12 years, we can obviously pay it off earlier if we want. And this is paid for through the general fund.
There's no penalty for paying it off, really.
Not at all. Our primary sources of revenue for the year. Act 51, which is the gas tax money that comes back to the village between major and local streets, $393,438. The lake restoration millage, $324 grand. They shared revenue right at 200,000. I rounded it down, only like 200,000 and change. Property taxes, our Mishta grant, fire special assessment, and our cable franchise fees are our big sources of revenue that we have. For the general fund, we're projecting coming into the fiscal year with a fund balance of $654,898. This year, we're projecting a surplus of about $5,400, so exiting at $660,000. It's our fund balance number. Major Street. Major Street gave me a lot of heartburn on Friday as I was finalizing packets, because our Clubhouse Drive project, I had all of that revenue for this coming fiscal year. And Jessica said, hey, why did we get $129,000 from the state last week? Well, that's our Clubhouse Drive money, which means it's gotta go into this fiscal year, not next fiscal year, so. Right now, we're sitting at $581,378. We are projecting, obviously, to burn through, 206,000 of that, this year with the project you're doing on Clubhouse Drive, for an ending balance of 374. Our local streets, 169,000. We're also obviously doing the tractor purchases planned, so those things come out with a $58,000 take from our fund balance to leave the year with 111,000 in our local street fund. Our other funds, our sewer fund, finance committee has asked for the budget to include the resumption of the $2,500 transfer for the admin fee. So the village is the custodian to the sewer escrow fund. We were able to have it amended in 2007 to increase the annual fee from $600 to $2,500. In looking at it, the finance committee's opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, finance committee members, is we would like to get off our books having a sewer fund and expedite those funds coming in the general fund. It saves us on auditing, but it also clearly communicates that we're not in the sewer business. With the events going on in Beale City and Coldwater Lake and Wademan, the appearance of maintaining a sewer fund could give the wrong impression that we are actively in pursuit of a sewer project that we are not doing. The only thing we've used the money for many years has been the E. coli testing of the lake in the summer. You know, we would just pay for that out of general fund once the sewer fund's closed, because nobody wants to not do that, so.
Well, we haven't taken an administrative fee since 2013 or so, right?
Give or take, yeah. Yeah. But getting it out of there would help, certainly, you know, we maintain a separate account for it, we have to audit it, you know. Our road patrol millage, we're projecting coming into the year with about 15 grand left over from this year's collection. Obviously not collecting anything, and so using all of that up, in the event that, you know, the county does continue their services and we continue with them and not do something alternative, you know, we would look to pay for that out of general fund at that point in time. So that, there's a lot of hills to cross before we get to that point in the discussion with leasing. The Lake Restoration Fund, between the tax collection The ARPA transfer and interest, we're showing revenue of about 360,000 for this year. The Birch Bay project and then, you know, permitting and testing, that kind of stuff, about 211,000 in expenses. For a fund balance bringing forward of 148,000 that we would carry forth to next year to match with that money for the 25 collection to go to the river project. What that looks like for our three main funds is that's our fund balance history. Blue is our general fund. And yes, it does go below the zero line because it had a negative fund balance for 3 years. Don't ask me how. God wasn't here. Orange is our major street fund, so you can see we build up to do a project, we do the project, we build up, we do a project, we build up, we do a project. Then the local streets, we, you know, kind of just keeping that at a certain level, you know, but there's not a lot of money we get from the state on that. And the way I always explain this is you can always move money on these columns from left to right. So you can always transfer from general fund to major or local. You can transfer from major to local up to 25% without an asset management plan. You can do 100% with an asset management plan. We have an MDOT approved asset management plan. We can transfer all of our major street money we get to local if we needed to. You can't go the other way. You know, you have to have, you know, rental agreements or, you know, admin fees, that type of stuff to move.
So you can go from general fund to major street.
And local street, yeah.
And local. And you can't go the other way.
Can't go the other way. So, you know, I always want to have the left side have a lot more than the right side, because the right side is the most constricted funds that you're gonna have. You can only use it on your local street network. Your major street, you can use it on your majors and you can transfer it to your locals. Your general, you can use it in your general, you can use it in your major, you can use it in your local, so. But as you can see, you know, we've got a very healthy fund balance. The village council adopted policy setting minimum fund balance levels. So the general fund is 175, the major street is 75, and the local streets are 50. The way we budget here is you get the upcoming year, and then you also get the projection for the following year. You get the previous year and you get an average of the years prior to that. So you get a multi-year snapshot here. So looking out as far as 25, 26, you know, we're still 387, 388 and 237 in terms of those percentages of what our fund balance is versus what those minimum levels you have established are. And last but not least, our capital improvement plan. Repaint our traffic lines we do every year. We're gonna get the second plow. My desktop's due for replacement. Then we got a couple other, I think council laptops, the server, we're gonna update the hard drives. And the code enforcement computer, I believe, is the one. We do need to knock out a non-motorized project, for our Act 51 money. You have to spend the equivalent of 1% over your past 10 years. Otherwise they penalize you. It used to be hard surfacing gravel streets count. It doesn't. The only thing that really counts for us is paving shoulders. So we'll find a shoulder to pave somewhere. I think there's one on El Camino that makes a lot of sense, or down by South Park. Placing the tractor, completes the conversion over to mostly electric chainsaws. Put in a natural gas standby generator at the DPW building. The finance committee talked about this and doing an engineering study on our local streets. So where we're at with those is the bulk of those 14 of the 18 miles were paved in 2007. And they are desperately due for a new top. And so looking at what those options would be, we decided at the finance committee that it would be better to have an outside firm do that and give cost estimates on several different treatment options. So when we go back to the community, it's got the seal from a professional, not us internally doing it. And then we're gonna replace the gate at the Sewell Lagoon property to accommodate the truck traffic. And then obviously the Birch Bay Restoration Project. And as you can see, that little asterisk there, we already got the money for the grant for the MDOT project. Got it last week. That is the budget.
Any questions?
Jim, you know, we've added quite a few positions and stuff like that, still with our 1%, our 1 mil, I should say. We've gotta be getting close to when we can't maneuver around it, add any more or do anything, can we, without adding a bill to it? To the budget?
What's that?
I'm not quite following.
In the last year or so, we've added employees, which I agreed with 100% with, I don't have a problem with, but we're taking away the money, the little bit of cushion we had, because we only have 1 mil. And then the other stuff, okay? We really do, if we add anything now, we really have to go after a mill to do anything. To add positions or anything else, right? I mean, is that part, do people agree with that, or am I off, am I not looking at something? I mean,
I don't know, yeah, like I'm saying, hire a part-time person.
right. There's a point in time, you're gonna run out of money, because, you know,
Yeah.
I've been really shocked, and it's because of Tim. And how he's doing the stuff. Cause at first I started thinking to myself, maybe I better start looking at the books a little closer, cause it seems like we always have the money to do it, you know? Yeah, we only have 1 mil, so, I mean, we have other funds coming in, but it's just,
Even your auditors say you have a lot of money.
Right,
You know,
right.
like,
right, I'm not,
I don't.
But
I'm just a little bit cautious,
yeah,
that's all, that's all.
I mean,
if we did it as a seasonal worker,
Mhm.
I think we could do it
Okay,
with out of general fund.
okay,
So you say it's just a seasonal position. For example, if you had somebody do the maintenance. And, I think even with somebody in the office, another person in the office, you could probably do the same thing. We say it's for internship.
we would love to do an internship program. We would need to knock a wall out to do it, because the reality of the office space in there is there's not space in Jessica's office for 2 people.
Right.
You know, so we would need to reconfigure that space in
Yeah.
a way that's functional to do this. You know, move the server out of the front office, put it somewhere else in the building.
But Paul's concerned about how we're gonna pay for the workers.
Well, you know, if you look at, you know, like this year, you know, out of our general fund, we're still paying tuition for Jessica. We're paying, you know, I've got natural gas standby generator in there, you know, there's a lot of things we're doing in there. If you look to next year when we're not doing tuition, you know, we've got an $18,000 surplus, and that's with paying for, you know, a $10,000 sign in the capital improvement plan and another $4,000 or $5,000 price. So we're sitting at like a $30,000 fund balance right now. And a lot of that is due to the growth we've seen from getting the restrictions lifted in South, you know.
Right.
Our taxable value, if you look at the what page in your budget,
Yeah, it's about,
page 11,
yeah, it's got about 98 to 109 about, well, 3 years.
you know, we at 2020, we were 83 million in taxable
Right.
value. We're 109 now. I mean, we've seen a 20% increase in our taxable value because of seeing 50 new homes built. So you throw that in with a higher census number, so you're getting a higher number on your revenue sharing, you're getting a higher number on your equity one. You know, we went from getting 160,000 in revenue sharing to 200,000. So, you know, we've seen those numbers come in. Really the place where we need money more than anywhere else is local streets. You know, it really is.
That issue.
yeah, I just,
Yeah, no, it's, no,
Yeah, we would
We need to-
absolutely love to do an intern, something like that. We've talked about it for years. There's just not a way to do it without taking that wall out, really, quite frankly. And
That's all right.
You know, we've, you know, we had a couple people come in to look at, you know, okay, let's take the wall out, let's take one of those doors out, you know, cause make that just a big office, like mine's a big office, you know. And we just haven't gotten any firm, you know, price, you know, that type of stuff too. And a lot of that's come down to, you know, are we gonna stay here or not too? You know, folks are seriously gonna look at moving.
Right.
I guess that consideration would be put into if you did build on to the new.
Yeah. Yeah, we would, there are some things that, you know, being in this building that we designed ourselves for 17 years or whatever it is now. You know, we would make a few changes.
Would this be a full-time position?
No,
Is there any reason if it's temporary and part-time? Is there any reason we can't use some dividers and make a small office room in the corner? And I've never seen this room filled up. Having go through all that remodeling and everything, and with some room dividers with the
boy, that,
place over there.
that brings back memories of the old building.
We're growing. We're
Well, see, that's part of
Yeah.
the, we're at that inflection point, I think.
But that's a good point. I mean, you know, for a temporary, he's not permanent. I don't think he's talking about permanent, but if it's a
And
temporary.
we're looking at maybe selling this building, eh?
Right.
Rather than remodel it, I'd just put something back there for.
The advantage to doing that would be you could start an internship now, as
Yeah.
opposed to waiting until it's remodeled.
Also, if for some reason it didn't work out, it's easy to.
Yeah.
You're,
Other questions for Tim? Now, we're supposed to have a public hearing, so I should open
Yeah.
up for a public hearing at 7:43. Now that we have the public hearing open, is there any comments from anyone in the audience? Seeing no one, public hearing is now closed. Same thing.
Let's say 7:44 in minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
And the only person online is Jessica, so. Hi, Jessica.
If there's no further comment from the council, I would make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Motion made by to adopt resolution 2024-08, budget and capital improvement plan. Is there a second?
Go ahead.
Latte, seconds. Larry Way's motion. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Joe Latte,
Yes.
Robert Laraway,
Yes.
Brent Peavy,
Yes.
Carol Shannon, yes. Carrie Behringer. Yes. Paul Cuny,
Yes.
Dave Jones.
Yes. Motion carries. Unanimous. Public comment? Anybody online? No?
Jessica.
Just Jessica? No existing business. We'll go down to new business, number 10. Resolution 2024-09.
Your first item under new business are the year-end budget amendments. This is also reviewed by the finance committee. For the current fiscal year, we are planning for a budget shortage in our general fund of $4,200 and $4,289, I should say, and that comes after spending $11,433 on an HVAC system and $4,000 to bring natural gas to the building, so. We were in the black for that. Major streets, we had we ended up having a surplus of 109,000 because we got $129,000
There you
in
go.
grant money.
I was gonna say.
Last week.
You didn't change that.
Yeah, I changed it on the
Yeah. you
General
changed it.
Appropriation Act, but
Right.
and then a $5,000 surplus in local streets. The rest of the funds are pretty self-explanatory, but really nothing major or different than last time you guys looked at the budget, with the exception obviously of the HVAC stuff being in there. You know, all told, we ended up, banking a little bit more in interest than we had planned. We also added more money in for printing tax bills. So, county, bless their heart, Didn't bill anybody the last 3 years for printing their tax bills. Yeah, no,
They got plenty of money.
they got,
They don't even-
Buddy.
So no. What?
yeah,
Wow, I do. Okay,
yeah,
all right.
Years. 3 years.
at least 3, yeah. And we never, like, I never really noticed it because we do the budget amendments, middle of June and tax bills go out, so it's like, already done for the year. Yeah, they are consistent. Anything other revenues I want to talk about? Liquor control fees are up. Revenue sharing slightly up to about $2,000. Council, the really biggest difference in there is we bought some new laptops this year, so that bumped your guys' department up a little bit. Elections, we paid for, the special election that was in this fiscal
Right.
year, so in
Right.
August. That ended up only costing like $6,200. I mean, that wasn't bad. Clerk and treasurer, big change there obviously is paying for the tax bills. And we bumped it up to 2,500. And that's because, talking with Doug. We've got like 2,400 parcels, and by the time you do postage and the envelope and the paper, you're, pushing 80 cents a parcel, give or take, so. Just to be safe, we went a little bit high there.
Postage is supposed to go up
What's supposed
Oh,
to
yeah.
75 cents?
75 cents.
I heard 78.
I think it's
75.
75.
Is it 75?
I don't, that's what I had heard, 75.
That's what they told me at the post office, 75.
Well, they told my wife, they said that, yeah, it's going up, so you might want to buy stamps, but don't go around telling people that it's going up.
Yeah, they literally, yeah.
Why would you tell people?
Stamps, they can print money.
How much are stamps now?
That's going from 68 to 73.
Okay, thank you.
That's still cool. You can write a letter and put a stamp on it.
And it
Bucket
goes-
goes to Alaska or
Yeah.
Hawaii.
That's right.
Or Australia, if you want. No, that's international.
Real and waiting even more.
Washington State.
Where it's going from, where it's going.
You gotta check out the truck when he's all done for the day, what's on the bottom.
Well,
I'm
that,
still not getting mail.
I was gonna say, the issue is
Really?
getting it here.
Yeah, they mailed me a check in my mailbox this winter from the office.
And asked me if she was on the
Never
bridge.
showed up and it hasn't got shipped back here. I've checked with them periodically. And
Wow.
Good old Carol used to run a tight ship. Everything, not you.
No, I know.
They used to be
I know.
fantastic before she retired.
Yeah.
Who, Faye?
They
Oh,
had.
she
little
got it.
fellow.
Young lady, and she was
She was
fantastic.
wonderful.
3 years after we moved, she still delivered it because she knew we were there.
Yeah.
She said, I could bring it back and be a
Nice.
son of a gun, and why? You know, she was very nice.
Page 9 of 21, taxes and chargebacks. We sold 2 lots this last year, for $4,000. And they were lots that we had acquired from the state back in like 2000, 2002, that range. And because those were claimed for a public purpose, all the proceeds from that sale has to go back to the county delinquent tax fund. So, we cut them a check for like $3,700, give or take, something like that. We paid for the title insurance out of it, that kind of stuff, but all those lots that we have up in north. If we do eventually sell them, all the proceeds go to the county, not us.
so there's no sense in selling them.
I'm surely not motivated to help them at the present time.
Surprised they'll put it on sale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
As long as it's not a dog park.
Right next to
So
each other.
dangerous.
Let's do that.
other than that, on our major street, we did, the chip project last year. So that was a big capital outlay there. That's like 130 grand, give or take. Um. I hate to be boring. This really isn't anything different than you guys have seen a few times right throughout the year. Little less in winter, save about 7 grand in Main Street on the winter. And that was from only having to buy salt 3 times instead of 4. That's the amendments in a nutshell. Finance committee was perfectly fine with this and
Any questions for Tim? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the vote. Get the number right, resolution 2024-09. Motion made by Latte. Seconded by Peavy. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
Robert Laraway,
Yes.
Brett Peavy,
Yes.
Carol Shannon, yes. Carrie Behringer,
Yes.
Paul Cuny,
Yes.
Joe Latte,
Yes.
Dave Torkelson.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Resolution 2024-10.
this is the first of 2 necessary resolutions to do a single parcel special assessment district. This would set public hearings for your July meeting for 3 properties. 1000 Villado, 1036 Cordoba, and 2003 Seaberry Circle. They were mowed, June the 10th. 140, and $185 mowing bill.
That could go, but we do that every year.
Every year.
And they pay, what's the billing for?
Nope, it's 3 years.
140, and then the third one's 180,
85.
185.
I thought we were getting paid for every year.
We were until he died. And now nobody's paying, now nobody's paying for it.
One moment.
Mr. Eaton passed away.
See, there's.
Yeah.
Should just get a sprayer and round up their whole lawn. And I'm down the hole again.
Oh, my.
I have that problem.
Okay.
Just round up 140. Okay. Any discussion? Chair will entertain a motion. Motion by Berenger to accept resolution 2024-10. Is there a second? Seconded by
There, that's good. We've already done that.
Laraway.
Yeah.
Further discussion? Seeing none? Roll call please.
Brett Peavy,
Yes.
Carol Shannon, yes. Carrie Behringer,
Yes.
Paul Cuny,
Yes.
Joe Latte,
Yes.
Robert Laraway,
Yes.
Dave Torkelson.
Yes. Motion carries unanimous. Introduction of proposed ordinance 2024-2 daycare, group daycare. Mr. Manager.
The planning commission held a public hearing at its meeting, last week. Received very good input from 2 residents, that operate family daycares in the village. And they discussed their situations in terms of wait list and childcare in general in the area. And we also have heard the same thing from Mike Skanesny. He is the rep from DHHS that does the licensing in the area. But this ordinance, if adopted, would amend the zoning text to allow group daycare homes as a special land use. So the special land use process is one where you hold a hearing, you notify the neighbors, they get, right to come in and, talk to planning commission before it can be approved. Since it is a zoning ordinance, state law requires a public hearing to be held planning commission level. Our village charter requires all ordinances to have a hearing for this body. And the zoning law says if you hold a hearing for any reason, you have to meet the notification requirements in the zoning act, so. We have to do the 15-day notice before hearing. But, looking at what other communities do in terms of daycares, this is consistent with Union Township and Mount Pleasant. It is consistent with the other changes we've made in our ordinance regarding home occupations. And it would certainly address a need in our community. So. To move forward, it would need to be formally introduced, the hearing set.
And we'll talk about it the week before our meeting, right? Planning commission?
They already did.
Oh, they are,
They already sent this to you with their endorsement.
with all the corrections.
Yeah, this is,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And they presented an excellent program that came in with all the facts and figures they needed. It was quite impressive with them. And I would be happy to introduce that to.
Okay. So done. Everyone introduces it. It's act on it in the next meeting. Okay, agreement from Land USA Master Plan Housing Study, proposed agreement.
Excuse me. So this is the study that we received the grant to conduct. So made an application to Mishta for $45,000 to have a residential target market analysis done for the community as part of our master plan and state. And we got it. I didn't think we would, but we did. This is the firm that did the previous one that's in our master plan right now that was done by the regional planning agency. So if you look at like our master plan, you'll see a lot in there about like lifestyle clusters is what it's called. So Experian, the credit bureau, lumps you into various boxes based on your spending habits. They call it the American Mosaic. So like, one of our top groups is, named like, stock cars in state parks, so it's people that have campers and that kind of stuff and boats and those, that type of data was stuff that we used to go back and look at our zoning and say, we need to be more flexible when it comes to storage. We need to be more flexible when it comes to where people can put stuff. But more than anything else, the target market analysis will let us see where there's demand in our community for specific types of houses. Things that we can amend the ordinance to hopefully make it easier to develop. And also use that as a leverage tool to go after projects that hopefully could help.
So the last time we had this done, we weren't the only target.
Correct.
So this will be more detailed and
Yes.
for us.
Yes.
It'll be specific,
Yep.
which will help us if we decide on the next step. This would be actually a good planning tool.
Yep.
If we were gonna pursue cityhood.
Yeah, you got free.
Yeah.
I was all about it.
Yeah.
It can only help us.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's information.
Drawbacks, yeah.
Yeah.
Any further questions for Tim? Right, you gonna make the motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we accept,
Agreement,
the agreement of Land USA target market housing study.
motion made by PV to accept Land Use USA Master Plan target. Housing target study, is there a second? Seconded by CUNY. Further discussion? Seeing none? Let's do a roll call. Well, I guess we're not spending, well, it's their money,
Technically spending money.
and we better cloud the roll.
Okay, Judd.
Yes.
Carrie Behringer. Yes. Paul Cuny,
Yes.
Joe Latte,
Yes.
Robert Laraway,
Yes,
Brett Peavy,
Yes.
Carol Shannon, yes. Brent? No, it'd be Dave Torson.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion carries unanimous. Okay. Public safety. Committee meeting.
So the deadline, if we're gonna put something on the November ballot, is August 13th. Okay. So if the council would like the committee to look at having something to present on that topic, we need to get rolling relatively quickly. So I think it is beneficial before the committee meets for the council to, have a discussion on what your expectations might be.
Of the committee.
Of
Helping you.
of whether or not we're gonna do something for November. There are other issues we certainly are gonna look at, but, the one at the forefront right now is, are we going to ask for money to start our own police department, for lack of a better sentence?
I have a hard time with that. Okay, so I'll just start the conversation. Number one is, if, and the county's doing us no favor, they're boxing us in. But I'd sure hate to start police department out here and then have the county end up doing it. Okay? I'm not for having to do a role, except for the way we have it right now. I thought was an excellent way. We hire, part-time, and we take no responsibility for it, except for the payment of doing it. But they actually have our own police department. Then you're gonna start getting into, we move and we'd have to get an office across the street, probably build a building or something like that. Just like with animal control, what are we gonna do with the dogs and cats and everything else that we take them? Do we take them to the dog pond? Or do we have to have something here? Or,
If that would be something that would be in the research.
right. That would have to be in the research, yes.
Is there any benefit with having a city that pertains to any
Well-
that aspect?
Yeah, because we could, first of all, get more money. And so we'll have,
Bigger-
and more autonomy on what we do. So it'll be just like the city of Mount Pleasant has their own police department, we'd have our own. Whatever it would look like.
That would be
So, but
natural.
but that's a 2-year thing.
Right.
Just even to get there.
Right.
And I think that's important to consider, but I think we have to get through this August first, or this year.
I would think that it probably is gonna take at least a year or two just to convince voters that you want something private or their.
Right, that's interesting, because it's interesting because of your perspective, because you're relatively new on the council, but we did this because we got COVID money. And so we said, hey, let's see if we can use that
Right.
to run a test program. Basically, it was a test program.
Right.
Of control of the sheriff's patrol coming out here and stuff. And so that's what we did. And, I guess what the committee would have to grapple with is, okay, folks, we had the test. It doesn't look like Isabella County is going to do anything because we'll be adrift. And if you're okay with not having patrol, then we won't ask for it. And that's the thing that the committee's got to grapple with. Because you didn't even realize, the genesis of this, which is interesting perspective. We're all imbued, we're in it so much of it, and that, she didn't even know that it wasn't here.
Well,
See how
one
this
of the
happens?
things I look at with that committee, which
Right.
I'm on,
Right.
is. Do we do something for Lake Isabella? Or do we see if other townships want to get kind of like a police force in? Yes, get it, and mine would be, I'd rather not be the controlling one, because then you have all the commitments and that stuff. But I don't know which one would be, we'd want to work with either, so that's something I thought about, do the committee thing, we gotta look at.
Right.
Want to go out to other townships and say, we're gonna form a division or something.
I say, I would think that doing something this year would feel too rushed and most likely not pass muster.
Right.
But it sounds like everything is, as we move forward and explore more of these different options that are presented to
Right.
us, that it might just become a natural flow and you'll gain more people who support it through it.
I agree with that there. I agree 100% that I'm just worried that we could jump into it too fast, everything. Money and that, but that's for talking in the committee and getting it and recommending to you guys what we want to do,
I would say
what we think we should do, so.
the safety committee seems like the most logical first step. Cause that's just,
I think that we are in a position right now that our county residents are upset enough to say, we're going to, our community here will support what we recommend now. I think that they're tired of dealing with the county. The other issue that I see, I think our road patrols are nice, but you can't call one of them to help you on any day. And they're sometimes during the day, sometimes afternoon, sometimes evening. So it's a presence here, but it's not a presence that helps us when we have them at the moment. Just somebody driving by. And that's how it is if you call 911. It's just it'll be a little bit worse than that in the future.
Tim, the regular county millage for the 6.61, they're voting on that, that's on August, right?
Correct.
Correct.
What, you know the date on that, or is it early August?
6. It's a week before the deadline.
Okay. I'm just thinking that out in my head, you know, like, my first reaction would be, I don't think we want to ask for money on the November ballot, because then we're on the same, you know, people that aren't gonna vote yes on that, they're going there to vote no on anything that raises their taxes. They're gonna say no, 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 you know, and I don't wanna catch more no votes than we need, you know, if this is the step we decide to go.
Well, the interesting thing is we're giving them a rebate. They got no money taken, what,
This tax.
this tax
Right.
bill,
Right.
that we didn't pay for it, which to me may be the opening to say, well, that's because
Yeah.
if you want it, you're gonna have to pay for it, because we ran this and we can explain to them, we ran it because there was COVID money, that we had an opportunity to run this program. How do you like it? If you don't want it, that's fine. And if you want it, that's fine, but please understand that if the millage goes down for the county, they're probably not gonna have service out here. They're barely gonna have it. It's not gonna be very good anyplace.
I believe they're gonna put a 1.5 around there, on the ballot, public safety.
That's what I think.
So if they're doing that, it's silly for us to put something on at the same time, I think. But are we, that's the problem, it's hard for us to plan if you don't know what they're going to do.
Right.
Right,
And that's like where I'm hung up on it.
I know.
You know, we're obligated to pay that. You know, currently, so if we started something of our own, they continue to do that, then we're, you know.
I'm confused,
For the patrols and such,
we wouldn't continue that.
We wouldn't.
We wouldn't do both.
right, but I'm saying, you know, would that just be the end of it then? We would no
Yes.
longer be,
If they don't have deputies, we can't do it.
Right.
We have nobody for them
See,
to come out.
And the
That's
other
what
thing
it
that we don't know is, we don't know what Mr. Main's gonna do.
Right.
is. Right,
We don't know, if yeah, we pass it, but that's for the county, and yeah, we'll get there. He doesn't mean that he's gonna run the program we're running now. Right. Because he's having a hard time talking to him about getting deputies as it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So if he lays anybody off, or if because remember, he told us about 2 years ago, he came here and told us how all the people are going to Grand Rapids because they're getting about a third more much money. And they're going all their places, and he's having a hard time, so
And see, that's,
if I'm an employee, a deputy there, and I'm looking at this and I'm going, I'm getting another job. I'll go Petoskey, I'll make the same amount of money or more.
but see,
Yeah,
that's,
city
that's the problem. We'll be competing against
Right.
other places and we're probably the lower paying. Yeah, because losing officers.
Oh, I understand that.
To the city too.
I understand,
And so then we jump in and we say, we're gonna do it.
but it's easier to find one or two than it is to find 2 dozen.
Oh, definitely.
Especially if there's people that are 55 just doing the last 5 years.
you got a strong culture that they're coming into, that's a lot better than the
Right.
Yeah.
pays dividends. Yeah, I don't see us having enough information to come up with something for this year, but it would be interesting to see what happens and continue looking at what our options are moving forward.
Well, that's it
Because that
now,
might be
but we still have,
something that-
as Brent pointed out, we still have what, 6th, they're gonna vote. If they get it,
November.
or November, but I mean,
August sixth is the,
It's the regular operating.
They're,
To renew
yeah.
that.
to renew that.
which is a red herring, like. If that fails, it doesn't stop their collection of the 6.61.
Oh, it doesn't?
No.
Oh.
That's the funny
No,
thing.
that's the weird.
No.
part.
They're playing games.
Oh.
Oh,
Because-
explain that, these guys.
That's kind of what I was,
So-
that's where I was getting hung up.
Is that it? Okay. yes.
Constitutionally, counties get to levy and collect 3 mills. Townships get to levy and collect 1 mill. So there's a limit in statute of 15 mills of your county, your township millage, your ISD, and like the state education tax. So collectively in Isabella County, all of those minimums come out to be 11.39. So there's an additional 3.61 mills that are available to be allocated by the allocation board. The allocation board can meet annually or it can meet every 4 years. We've done every 4 years, and by going to a vote of the people, it acts as a heavily override on all of those millages, so they still get to levy the full 661 or the full 1. If the voters reject it, they still are going to levy the 661 and the 1, they're just gonna be rolled back by heavily. And the allocation board will have to meet annually to allocate those remaining 3.61 mills, which they've given to the county every year. And this is a conversation I had with the chair of the county board of commissioners.
I'm not even
because-
sure they understood it.
And that was my
I
point.
really
Yeah,
am sure, I'm not sure.
No,
is that you have to be crystal clear in how you communicate this,
Right.
because I've heard from county commissioners, I've heard from county elected officials that like, this is the whole millage. If this doesn't pass, we go to 0 when the state takes over. It's like, that isn't how this works. Like, actually listen to your county treasurer. He's explained this to you. This is not what is going to happen. And if you tell voters this is what's going to happen and then it fails and it doesn't happen, you are absolutely not gonna get anything passed in November.
See what the box they put themselves in, and we're sitting here going, we're gonna protect ourselves.
But, and
We
the,
have to.
the
protect
county's millage isn't even going to be impacted by heavily, is what Pickens has
Right.
told me.
Right,
It's the townships that really are the beneficiary of the August 6th vote. It's not the county. So, all the, I've seen a couple of signs, vote no on August 6th, like that's not gonna do anything.
yeah,
it's still gonna happen. It's still gonna get
happen.
taxed.
right.
If you wanted to make the case, you needed to go to the allocation board, which was done in April.
Except you missed it.
Because the county had to show a demonstrated need to have the allocation board give them the 3.61 that's remaining. And I went to the meeting and, I was polite, professional, and just sat there and didn't say a thing, but in my mind, I'm thinking, well, let's see. You're not doing road patrols, you're not doing all these other services that you're currently doing on your 6.61, so I don't know if you need the full 3.61 coming now, do you? Because you're cutting all these services that you're currently paying for with it,
That they're not going to provide.
that they're not going to provide moving forward.
See, so that's what puts us in.
I didn't say anything, I just smiled and waved.
We can do a special election in February, can we?
We'd have to pay for it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I don't think
but I
that-
mean, if we're, it's like, you said that last one's $6,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
if we need to do that, if the county crumbles and they cut all road patrols and we need to revisit that, I think we just know that we're gonna pay $6,000 wait till February.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't like asking for more money on that November ballot, because everyone's going to hammer the no box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
August and November vote.
Yeah. Or enough people are gonna do that to kill,
Yeah.
kill the vote, swing it one way.
Yeah, I mean, I do not feel that a special election cost is prohibitive to wait it out till February or May.
Right, if we're talking about, 1.5.
Yeah.
You would ask.
Yep.
For our own police department, I mean, $6,000 is a drop in the bucket, right? And it wouldn't even be our fault that we'd be spending $6,000 for a special election, the county's fault. Like, wouldn't even be on us, so.
I mean, educational material.
I think you gotta wait it out and see what happens in November and then,
Absolutely.
like, be prepared, but
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
take action there. you know,
One of the things I thought about too with the committee is, inviting either Chief Dude from Lakeview or Chief Sawyer from Shepherd to come and just sit with the committee and just talk about, this is what it's like having the police department in a village, small community. Just so
This
you
is how
guys
many people you need.
You know.
This is what-
get the feeler, on what it's like, and what the challenges are.
That's a good idea. Cause we don't even know. Exactly.
I would like to hear, sometime in the next, on a meeting schedule that's not super packed, if we could hear all the pros and cons about becoming a city.
Sure.
Just say like in August or something, so we know, so we can be thinking about that, cause November 5th is gonna come, and if that gets shot down, we're gonna have to start putting more things in motion, and police department and everything else, it makes more sense to, you're already one step closer to becoming a city.
Yep, I agree.
So I already got the report, I did a few years ago, I just did update it. Yes.
Yeah.
But I can tell you the short end of it right now
Yep.
is there are 3 things we would have to do that we don't do right now. Assess property, collect taxes for other people, and hold elections. And the way we've always framed it in the past has been, if we go to the voters and tell them, you pay us 1 mil right now, you pay the townships 1 mil. If you incorporate as a city and give us 2 mils, you're not paying the township because you're no longer part of the township. It's essentially neutral for you, and you get an assessor here in the village, you get a board of review in the village, you get your elections in the village. You get a building that's open 5 days a week with full-time staff that you can come in and talk about your tax bill as opposed to trying to track down, a township official. And with our current taxable value, I'm pretty confident that we can hire an assessor and do those things for 110,000 and have a decent amount of change left over. Other than,
Affect the other.
it doesn't impact
51.
anything else.
Act 51, right?
That is the absolute short and sweet explanation of what is on the table.
But what's the downfall?
The only downfall, quite frankly, that I can tell you is for myself, because when you do a charter amendment, that is your legal opportunity to change the form of government. So if the charter commission wanted to go to a strong mayor, that would be the downfall for me, but other than that, it doesn't impact your liability, it doesn't impact any of those other things out there, because we're already a municipal corporation. It changes what you have to do on those 3 things. You had to add, obviously, the assessing position, to your office, but there's also, and this is where fights have happened. The law is written in such a way that if a village incorporates as a city, the township is legally obligated to give them a prorated share of their assets. Because the legal basis for that is you were township residents, so you put into the township kitty. So whatever your value is, they're supposed to reimburse you from, their balance sheets, both townships.
Which we're like. Population.
So the other thing for us would be the fire department.
Yeah, that's,
So we would have to, basically become a partner in that department, because the minute we incorporate as a city, Sherman Township just lost $50,000 of taxes going out right there, for the fire department, so.
But that would, in our case, it wouldn't affect them because we
Yeah,
most likely
Right,
keep the contract
Well-
where we have it, so everybody would be neutral.
Yeah,
in
right.
that point.
right.
So we're not
Make them
hurting
the
the fire
partners.
department, we're not.
It's actually just where the money stays.
Yeah.
And we get
Right.
control. We used to run our own elections until the
Yeah.
state said you
Right.
can't.
Right.
See what the cost difference will be versus, I understand what you're saying as far as, more money stays in-house, if you will. But the expenditures are going to be different for running your own elections and stuff.
Yeah.
It would be nice to kind of see the forecast of, does that balance out, or is it gonna be, put us in the negatives as far as overall budgeting,
not at all.
And You
but
don't
also
have
be
to
doing,
change, you don't have to change the
no,
type of government you have. It can still be
you can still
a
be
village
council
manager
Just be
or
a
a
city
city
council.
manager.
Yep.
And they have that all the
Yeah,
time.
council
And
manager.
Cadillacs like that.
Yep.
They have a city manager.
And that's
Not
why
buses like that.
I see it, if,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I really like this structure. I think this is advantageous for, everybody,
I like it because it's not that political.
right?
It
Well,
doesn't, it sounds crazy,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you know,
That there's, there's so many checks and balances,
right,
in the chain that,
right.
that's why I say I think it's the most advantageous,
well, if you think about it, if we became a city and I've never talked about becoming a city and I'm still leery of it, but I'm more towards it than I am against it.
And it still goes.
But
to the-
the other townships, we won't, you know, the residents are paying, they're paying into us, they're not paying into the township. So therefore, when they complain about, why do we still gotta pay this and pay that, you don't. We become a city, you only pay us on this, the same thing you used to pay.
Yep.
And- But we're getting the money and you're getting the
It's
best.
staying in Lake Isabel.
Right, right. I'm leaning, Dave, believe it or not, I'm leaning a little bit more towards the city.
Well,
It's
you know, I'm
still
not,
hard for me too, but
I'm not trying to
yeah, no. I
push
know.
anything. I'm just saying that it just seems like a logical progression and an inflection point.
Yeah.
Cause I don't like being at the mercy of them.
Right.
I don't like this. Oh, they're gonna squeeze us and use leverage on us. Like, come on. You know, when you need a police officer, they're only 20 minutes away when seconds count.
Right.
You can't get here unless they happen to be here.
Right.
And if we're on this side of the lake and we're on that side, they're 10 minutes away.
Yeah, last I heard, certain ambulance calls were what,
Yeah, that's right.
25 minutes,
Oh, I don't doubt it.
But they're giving us the opportunity to
They
explain.
usually have ambulance and DFW.
typically, yeah.
Yeah, that's where this package.
Which is great.
The trouble is if it's on a run.
right, that's what I was gonna say, the last I seen, for Lincoln Bella, it was about 25-minute average, for,
So does the Public Safety Committee probably ought to meet for 30 seconds or a minute after this meeting is over, just to get an idea of when you want to get together and talk about it, at least outline an idea for yourselves. So. Okay,
We don't have to take any action on that.
no, just to kind of make sure everybody's on the same page, what you're talking about and what you want to do.
I think it's awesome though, we're talking about it now. We're talking about this stuff in June, you know, what if? We wanna have, the ball should be rolling somewhere instead of November 6th, we're standing here now, what do we do?
Yeah, that's right. I agree, Brian.
I agree with that, and I credit Tim with that, because he's always been a visionary, way ahead of what, now, I'm telling you the truth, after 23 years, I've worked with him. He's always looking ahead 6, 8 months, a year. That's why we have a fund balance of $658,000. That's why he refinanced that loan debt and saved $55,000.
You have a fund balance without a millage, essentially.
Yeah, we have,
Right.
You know.
when our accountants were telling us, you gotta spend some of that. That's a good feeling. All right. Public comment, none. Any other council comments? Seeing none. Any announcements? Just the next meeting is, whenever it is.
Sometime in July.
Yeah, sometime in July.
We'll all be here, whatever.
And
So 16th, maybe?
16th, okay.
Something like.
We're adjourned.